Hey, my name's Alex and I've been living in Estepona for nearly 4 years now. I run a social media account and a YouTube channel called Estepona.life, wearing the merch, and this video is to share with you what it's actually like to live in Estepona here in Spain. Maybe you're thinking about moving here, or maybe you're just thinking about visiting here. I'm going to go through some things that you need to know before you do that. I'm going to be talking about the food, I'm going to be talking about the bureaucracy, I'm going to be talking about the social life. Yeah, I'm going to be covering everything that you need to know. So make sure you watch this video to the end. I'd love to hear from you, by the way, so do drop me a comment below. Let me know whether you're thinking of visiting or moving here. And yeah, if you like this video, really appreciate a click on the like button. So let's get started. So I want to start by talking about the cost of living here in Estepona. Let's start with property. Rent here is expensive and it's going up all the time. That's just because of the influx of tourists that we've got here. It's just pushing up all the prices. And equally, the cost to buy somewhere, well, that's also going up. Some people have been paying some really high prices for properties around here. And hold on. Local police. I wasn't going to actually mention the police, but while they've driven past, there is a good police presence and they're all really friendly, which I really like. It makes you feel very safe and secure. In the UK, I don't remember ever seeing any police about, but yeah, the police here, they're all friendly, very helpful, mostly speak English. That's not what I'm talking about. I want to talk about the cost of living. So yeah, property prices are high, rent is high, but I guess if you look around, you might be able to find something that's reasonable, but expect rent on a 2-bedroom, maybe a 3-bedroom, is going to be around 1,000 a month, could be even more. And to buy something, especially in the old town, it's going to be at least 400, 500,000. The other side of town, the newer part, it's going to be 200 and up. Don't quote me on those prices, but yeah, generally it's quite expensive. In terms of your day-to-day costs, I find the utility costs around between 60 and 200 a month, depending on the size of your family. Obviously your energy bill will probably go up in the summer if you're running your aircon a lot. But yeah, not too bad. The local taxes, the kind of council tax, much cheaper than the UK, and you do get a lot for your money. I mean, just look around, all these plants, everything is nice and clean. It's just well maintained. They're always developing stuff. I feel like you get a lot of value for your local council tax. In terms of going out and eating, well, again, if you choose wisely, you can eat out for very little. You can get a menu del dia and it can cost you 10, 15 euros. You get a 3-course meal. However, if you go somewhere more touristy here in the old town, you can pay a lot more. But still, I'd say on average, when there's 4 of us that go out for a meal, it's between 50 and 100 euros, depending on where we go, and that includes drinks. Speaking of drink, alcohol is still fairly cheap here, especially in the supermarkets. You can get a bottle of wine for €1. You might want to pay a little bit more than that. When you go out, the cost of a small beer is going to be around 150. Some places it goes up to 3. Again, depends on where you go. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Other groceries aren't too bad. I'd say food is slightly cheaper here than in the UK, and it's generally better quality, especially the fruit and veg. As I mentioned, alcohol is cheap. So it is rising. I have noticed it is rising here. The food is going up. But there's lots of good supermarkets about, and yeah, again, if you choose wisely, you'll be fine. The other thing I really like about Spain is there's lots of independent shops, and they offer really good produce for a lot less money. So there's still plenty of grocers or fruit and veg shops. There's fishmongers, there's butchers, and they all have really good products, good produce, and it's all reasonably priced. So rather than doing all your shopping at the supermarkets, why don't you check those out and you'll get some really good stuff at a really good price. So what's life actually like living in Estepona? What's the social scene like? Well, generally it's a much more laid-back kind of lifestyle. People take time to enjoy life. They go out, they meet friends, they enjoy the fresh air, they enjoy the sun. Spanish culture is a little bit different to what you might be used to. There's a few things that struck me when I started living here that are very different and that you kind of have to get used to. The first thing is eating late. People in Spain, they have their dinner at like 9, half 9, 10 o'clock, sometimes even later. And for me, an Englishman who generally used to have his dinner at 6 o'clock, it was a little bit of a shock, a little bit of something to get used to, especially if you've got children. You kind of want to get them fed before it gets too late, but you adjust. Friendly local. Yeah, you adjust to it, and yeah, it actually makes sense, because at the end of the day, it's really hot in the afternoon, so everything kind of gets put back. You eat later, you go to bed later. Personally, I think the best way to kind of manage it is you do eat later, you stay up later, but then try and get up at a reasonable time, because it's nice and cool in the morning. I mean, it's about midday now and it's starting to warm up quite considerably. Another hour or two and everywhere's going to be completely dead. These places are getting ready for lunch, and that's another cultural difference. Especially on the weekend, a long lunch is something that a lot of people get into. So they come out about 1 o'clock, they sit at the bars and the restaurants, have some lunch till maybe 4 o'clock, half 4, and they make lunch last for a good few hours, sitting around, socializing with friends, eating good food, having a couple of drinks, and then after that, yeah, everything goes quiet. People go back to their apartments, go back to their houses and have a siesta. Well, at least I think they do. Though to be honest, I don't think that many people do sleep in the afternoon anymore. They just go back, they chill, maybe watch some TV, get underneath the air conditioning, and then they all come out again, maybe at 7 o'clock, half 7, 8 o'clock, when it's starting to get a bit cooler. And in fact, down the front on the Paseo, it gets absolutely packed. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's really busy. And in fact, you'll even see the children out at that time. The park, the play area down the front, which is really good, is at its most busiest at 10 o'clock at night, with kids running around everywhere, enjoying the cooler temperature, and just having a good time. So that can take a little bit of adjustment to get used to that. Another thing that takes a bit of getting used to, which is very different to in the UK and in England, is the amount of fiestas and festivals and things that go on here. So it seems like they happen every couple of weeks. Maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, there's often something going on. So just the other night, it was the Fiesta of the Virgin del Carmen, which is a very big celebration here. And the beach was packed, there was boats out in the sea, people everywhere. And they brought the Virgin down from her chapel down the end of the Paseo border all the way along. Took her out in the sea to bless the fishermen. It was a really big party. And then a few weeks before that, it was San Juan, where again, loads of people out on the beach. There was huge bonfires and a stage and bands. Big celebration. There's also the Feria, which is up in the fairground area, which is a big deal every year as well. Huge fun fair. Whole town goes up there, dresses up, and it's a really big celebration. There you go, someone else saying hello. So everyone is so friendly here. It's really good. So yeah, that's a bit of shock. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing. I love the celebrations. But generally on those fiestas, most things shut, or shops especially. Restaurants and bars, not so much, but shops are going to be closed. So sometimes it takes a little bit of planning. Although I will say the supermarkets like Carrefour, they now tend to stay open on those days. So it's not the end of the world. You'll be able to get that milk or whatever you need if you look around. I'm outside the town hall, the Ayuntamiento here in Estepona, and well, this is a good place to talk about the bureaucracy and the paperwork you're going to need if you want to move here. This is obviously the heart of bureaucracy in Estepona. And well, yeah, there's quite a lot of paperwork you've got to do. The Spanish seem to like bureaucracy in a way. They love form filling and rubber stamping and all that kind of stuff. Of course, if you're British, you're going to need quite a lot of paperwork. You're going to need a visa. Obviously, after Brexit, you need a visa to be able to stay here for more than 90 days at a time. I found the town hall though to be very helpful. You can book an appointment using their website, or in there's some machines. And yeah, they've always been very helpful, as have the Policia Nacional, the National Police, which is where you go for a visa. I would recommend that you get yourself a gestor though. A gestor is someone that can help you with all your paperwork, your taxes, all that kind of stuff. The gestor I use in Estepona is a company called Broly. They're down on Calle Real. They also, well, yeah, Calle Real, that's where they are. Their office does go through to the Paseo, but I don't think you can get in that way. So I highly recommend them. They've been very helpful and enabled us to sort everything out. I also have used a visa advisor to help do all the visa renewals and all that kind of stuff. The type of visa that you need is obviously going to depend on your circumstances, whether you want to work, whether you're just going to be living off pensions, that kind of thing. So I recommend that you get advice on that. There's also the digital nomad visa available now. So if you're working remotely for a company in another country, that might be the best choice for you. When it comes to learning Spanish, I've been taking lessons. I've been taking lessons here. This is Spanish in Estepona. It's a language school here in Estepona. I think it's one of the best. I've been doing 3 lessons a week, each lesson an hour long, and it's really helped me get my head around some of the basics and enable me to practice my Spanish, both speaking and listening. There's also apps like Duolingo that can help as well. I think I'm on a 1,000-day streak on Duolingo. I don't think you'll be able to speak fluently just off an app, but it's a great way to pick up some extra vocabulary and phrases. One other thing you should be aware of when it comes to the Spanish in this part of Spain, they've all got a very strong Andalusian accent, which can take a little bit of getting used to. In fact, even some Spanish people from the north of the country sometimes struggle to understand what people are saying around here. Let's talk about transport as that bus passes behind me. I've come down here to talk about this because this is one of the main roads that goes round Estepona. It's Avenida Andalucía, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of traffic. You can probably hear it too. In fact, it's actually a bit quieter than usual now. So in terms of getting around, personally, I don't have a car. If I need a car, I rent a car. There is a really good car hire company just up the road here called Espacar, and yeah, whenever I want to go out of town or do some stuff, I'll hire a car from them. It's reasonable, depending on the time of year. It can be 20 euros a day for a small car, but it can go up to about 30, 35 euros a day, and that works for me. But there are other ways to get around. There are the dot scooters. Well, they're just over there. That van's just pulled in front of them. I'll show you some footage of the dot scooters. Those, you just download an app, put it on your phone, and oh, there they are. And they are dotted around the town. Oh, maybe that's why they're called dots. They're dotted around the town. You just scan them with your app and you jump on them, and it costs maybe on average 1 or 2 euros for a little trip round. And you can use them pretty much everywhere. Obviously, just be careful. They do go quite fast, and sometimes the brakes aren't always that good on them. But they also have some bikes as well, actually, that you can use. In terms of public transport, well, public transport is actually really good. I just showed you a bus. There are lots of local buses that run around, like from one end of the town to the other. They're all reasonably priced. There's also some, I'm just going to let that large truck go past, it's quite noisy. There's also some other buses that go out of town, so you can get buses to Marbella, you can get buses to Malaga, you can get buses to the airport, you can get buses the other way down to Algeciras. There's quite a good bus selection, and yeah, they're not too expensive, and they run fairly regularly, most days and until quite late. The other problem you've got when it comes to getting around is parking. I'm just standing here because this is quite a rare sight, an empty parking space. Parking in Estepona can be quite tricky. There are some large underground car parks which you have to pay for. They're not expensive, 1 or 2 euros a day. And parking on the street is generally free, but it's very busy, so expect to drive around a little while to find a parking space. In terms of getting around in the old town, which is where I'm just walking towards now, basically you can't drive in the old town. There is no cars. It's fully pedestrianised, so your best bet is on a bike, walking, on a scooter. Personally, I walk everywhere. It's good for your health as well, and it's free, and it's probably the best way to get around the old town. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you really want a car, think about parking. Maybe try and get somewhere with a parking space. There are parking spaces available to rent and buy. I've seen those around, so that might be an option. But if in the old town, yeah, you are going to struggle to use a car. Just behind me, there's a restaurant there getting ready for today's service. Let's talk about food in terms of eating out kind of food. Food here is generally really good. There's a lot of Spanish choices, a lot of fresh fish, fresh meat, a lot of tapas bars, which are absolutely great. I love eating tapas. It gives you that kind of variety where you can try lots of little things. In terms of expat food, or just different kind of food, as I've already touched on, it is maybe somewhat limited, but it is growing. So for example here, there's Mini Thai, which is a Thai restaurant. You can get things like a roast dinner if you want. In fact, I might go for a roast dinner tomorrow, just so I can get some footage to put up here. Occasionally I do fancy one. There's a Burger King there. I guess that's kind of expat food. But yeah, food is generally good. I've kind of already touched on pricing, but yeah, depending on where you go, the pricing can vary quite a bit. You can eat out really cheaply, or you can pay a bit more. But yeah, food is generally good, and you do tend to eat out a lot more. It's just kind of like the lifestyle here. People go out more, as I've already touched on. It's because of the weather, and that's the kind of place it is. So you'll find yourself eating out quite a bit more, which of course can get quite expensive if you do it a lot. Okay, so I'm here on Calle Real, which is one of the main shopping streets here in Estepona, and I want to talk about a few things that you might miss if you do move to Estepona. In particularly shops. If you're into shopping, then you might have a little issue with Estepona. Most of the shops are independent. There's a few chains here, but you're not going to find any of your big chains here. So there might be specific products or things that you want, but you just can't find them here in Estepona. Now, of course, there is Amazon, and there is also La Cañada, which is the shopping centre in Marbella, which is about 20 minutes drive from here. There's also a bus service there. They do have all the chains, so that should hopefully satisfy that. They've got a Primark, they've got a Marks and Spencer's, they've got a JD Sports, they've got an Apple shop, they've got KFC, they've got McDonald's, all that kind of stuff that you might be used to. If there's a particular food product that you're missing, well, there is a shop up in the port that kind of imports British products. So, if you're desperate for some Bisto or, I don't know, a tin of Heinz soup, basically all that kind of stuff, they've got it all in there. It is quite expensive, I will say, but yeah, if you're really desperate for something specific, they might be able to sort you out. Another thing that's up the port, which might satisfy especially some of the British people, there is a pie bar, which is run by a Scottish couple, I believe, and they produce English style pies and pasties and sausage rolls and all that kind of stuff. So personally, I never really fancy that kind of stuff when I'm here. When I go back to England, especially when I go to Cornwall, I'm definitely having a pasty and a pie, but when I'm here, not so much. But maybe you do, and yeah, they'll be able to sort you out. Let's talk about the weather. So I'm filming this in July, and as you can see, I mean, it's just sunny, just clear blue skies. A little bit windy. It does get windy here quite a lot, although there are a considerable number of days where it's not windy, but today, for example, it is quite windy, which sometimes is quite refreshing actually to get that cool breeze coming off the sea. There's two types of winds here, depending on which way the wind is blowing. Sometimes the wind is really hot, sometimes the wind is nice and fresh. And that can have a big effect on the weather. In the winter, it's still mostly sunny, but obviously it's quite a bit cooler, and it can rain quite a lot. It doesn't really rain much in the summer. It's very rare for there to be rain. Sometimes there's the occasional thunderstorm, but generally there is no rain. But yeah, in the winter, when the rain sets in, it can go on for days and days. In terms of the temperature, yeah, it's cooler in the winter, and because the houses and the properties here and the apartments are built to be cool, it can mean that it's a bit cold when you're at home, and it can be quite difficult to get cozy because they have tiled floors, they don't have any carpets, there's no central heating, well, not in most of them. So you might need to buy some plug-in heaters, or you might want to put your air conditioner on to hot. And yeah, you're probably going to need an air conditioner, especially if you find it hard to sleep when it's really hot. Me personally, I'm okay with ceiling fans. I always have my ceiling fan on. That generally does the job. I do have one air conditioning unit if it gets really hot, but most of the time, yeah, I find it fine just with the ceiling fans. In August, that's probably the hottest month I tend to go on holiday in England where it's a bit cooler, because it can hit 40 degrees in August. Estepona is an evolving town. I've been coming here, I'd say nearly 20 years, and I've seen the town change a lot. To me, it's changed for the better, but some people think it's being overdeveloped, becoming too touristy, so you might want to keep that in mind. At the moment, I don't see it as being too much of a problem. It is definitely getting busier every year, and there is a lot of building work and development going on. For example, look here, there's a whole place been demolished and they're going to be rebuilding. So if you're buying somewhere or staying somewhere in the old town, you probably need to be aware of that, because the old town is probably where most of the development's going on. It can be noisy in the week. There's going to be trucks coming up and down here, there's going to be drilling, there's going to be banging, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully it doesn't go too far and become completely gentrified and taken over. But yeah, you should be aware that Estepona is an evolving town, and it's evolving very quickly because of the amount of people that are coming here and the amount of money that's coming into Estepona. I'm down in Estepona port right now on a Friday night. A lot of people about, as you can see, enjoying a drink and some food. It's a great place for me to talk about the social side of Estepona. Port is a very social place, especially upon an evening on a Friday or Saturday night, or in fact most nights, to be honest. If you want a night out, it's definitely the place to come. If you want to stay up late, maybe watch some music, maybe get a drink, that kind of thing. So yeah, when it comes to the social side, I'm more social than I've ever been here in Estepona. I think it's the weather. The weather certainly helps. You get out more, you meet people, you always bump into people that you know. And in terms of getting to know people, I found that quite easy as well. You'll meet people in bars and restaurants, of course, but also in groups. The Spanish lessons have been a great place to meet people. And obviously I've got children, so it's also another way to meet people at the school, during pickup, during drop-off. You're going to meet a lot of people. In terms of the expat community, well, yeah, there is quite a lot of expats. Or should I say British immigrants? That might be a better way of saying it. A lot of them can be found down here in the port, actually. But it's not overwhelming. It's not something that's taken over the town. It's not like Benidorm or anything here. There is a lot of different nationalities here, but there's still a very, very large, healthy Spanish population too. So it's a nice kind of international mix. And I'd say all my friends are from lots and lots of different countries. I haven't just got a whole load of English friends or anything like that. In fact, I've only got 1 or 2 English friends here, I think. The rest are from places like America, Sweden, France, all around the world. So it's a great place to meet people from different countries, which is always good. In terms of what Estepona feels like, well, it feels like a really big community to me. There's a real strong community and family spirit here. You see a lot of families out as a whole, children, grandparents, parents, aunties, uncles, everyone goes out together. And in fact, the town as a whole kind of bands together. And this is very clear on one of the many festivals. And there's a lot of festivals here. There was one just the other night, which was the Virgin del Carmen, which is one of the big festivals here. And the whole town came out. And you can see that they're all really proud of this town, of their town. And they've got a real strong love for the town and for each other. It's really nice to see. So, yeah, really strong community feel here. And I've got to say, the locals have been very welcoming to me. I've never had any problems. I've always felt welcome here. Never seen any problems in terms of, them being hostile to us immigrants, which is what we are. Yeah, they've always been very friendly. There's a Chinese restaurant there, just to add, but you can get all sorts of different food. But I will be talking about food in another part of this video. So there you go. I hope that's made it a little bit clearer in terms of what it's actually like to live in this wonderful town. I absolutely love it here. I feel so lucky and grateful to be able to live in such a wonderful town. It's paradise to me, it really is. So if you're thinking of visiting, I highly recommend you come down and have a look. If you're thinking of moving here, yep, there's going to be a lot of paperwork. You're going to have to adjust to a few different things. But I think once you get here, once you settle in, you're going to absolutely love it. I'm going to be doing some more videos like this, where I go into a bit more detail on things like schools, healthcare, learning the language, some of the things that I've mentioned in this video, but I'll go into a bit more detail. So You're probably not going to want to miss them. Make sure you're subscribed, click the button below, click the bell, and you should get a notification when I do upload a new video. And of course, on my channel, on Estepona Life, which is on not only on YouTube, but also there's the website estepona.life, and there's all my social media. Do check out all that. I do videos pretty much every day on what it's like in Estepona, life in Estepona, good places to eat, good places to drink, things to do. Do go check it out. I hope you find it useful. And you can also join my email newsletter, where I'll get in touch with you probably every week if I get around to it, and let you know what's going on and places to go. So I wish you the best of luck if you are going to move to Estepona. If you're just going to visit, have a great time. Until next time, I'll see you later.